Do you want to look like this when you show up at your customer's yard to pick up that overloaded dumpster? No, exactly right. I didn't think so. Here is the harsh truth of why not all trucks are built correctly. Let's talk about the rear axle, the cab to axle measurement. Today we are talking to anybody out there who is looking for a Hooklift upfitter. Whether you're getting your first truck or your second or third truck, we're going to talk to you and break it down to you of why we do things differently here at Quality Trucking Equipment. All right guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking to anybody out there who is looking for a Hooklift upfitter. Whether you're getting your first truck or your second or third truck, we're going to talk to you and break it down to you of why we do things differently here at Quality Trucking Equipment. Now we know that you as a customer have a lot of different options of where to purchase a truck. And there's some really good guys out there building amazing trucks just like we do. But today we want to take some time and break it down to you step by step of how we do things here and the reasons behind why we've done it this way. And then again, we'd love your feedback of how we could improve our process to make this unit better for you. And remember, this is the only thing that we do here, so we have to be really, really good at what we do, and we're going to show that to you today. We are out in the shop today for something different. I have a 536 Peterbilt behind me. That has been one of our most popular trucks here the last couple months. And you know, we would have picked any truck out of the lot, but it's one that we had completed, and we're going to showcase that truck to you today along with the Hooklift on the back. So we're going to get right into it. There's actually two things that are really important when you're thinking of your Hooklift truck. It's the chassis and it is the Hooklift. Those are the two most important components to this completed setup. And we're going to jump right in and talk about Swaploader. So I don't know how many of you know this. This is something fairly new for our company, but we are exclusively only a Swaploader dealer right now. We have done multi-lift, Palfinger, Stellar, and you know, all of those hoists are really, really good. And I'm not going to knock any of those hoists today, but when we looked at the direction that we want to take our company and how we're so laser focused on what we're doing, as a salesman, you have to believe in the product that you're selling. And we wanted what we felt was the best product to put out there to our customers and then really hone in on one manufacturer so that we could stay very laser focused. What was important to us? Swaploader is made here in the US, out in Iowa. And just a couple weeks ago, Logan and I flew to Iowa and they gave us a tour of their facility and we were impressed with what we saw. They're not that huge of a company. They're big, but they're not so big that they can't sit down and talk to people like us. So while we were there, some of the things that we noticed right away that were really important to us is their attention to detail, the amount of energy they put into creating a product that works long term. They have an amazing warranty department. They have an amazing engineering department. They took the time to sit down and listen to us, and some of the suggestions and changes that we gave to them, they heard us. And that's why we wanted to partner with a company like Swaploader. But you know what, really the number one reason we partnered with them? Swaploader does one thing. They build hook lifts. That's the only thing they manufacture. So they are laser focused on their product and making it the best and listening when there's a problem and taking care of warranty issues because they're selling one product. That is what we do here too, is we sell one product. And that's why we have made a lot of changes in the last 2.5 years to get much, much better at what we do. And we used to do a lot of different things here. We had different companies, different things we were involved in, and it sidetracked us from building the best hook lift truck out there. All right, so on the warranty that Swaploader offers, here's number one. If you call or email them with a problem, they actually answer and respond very quickly. That's extremely crucial when you're dealing with a problem. So here's the warranty that they offer. 5-year structural steel warranty, 4 years on all moving parts, and in your first year, parts and labor is covered on the entire hoist. And they have distributors all across the US, so if you buy the truck from us and you're out of California, Colorado, Mississippi, there's probably a distributor close to you that you can take the truck to and get the warranty work done. Because remember, if it's man-made, it's going to fail. We wanted a product that will hold up long-term for you out there in the field. And if you go to the Facebook groups and you search for pictures and problems that people are having with their hook lifts, I'm going to tell you that there's almost no swap loader issues out there with bent jibs, broken jibs, and all that host of things. You will see a few photos and documents of swap loader failures on those groups, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to see more of the others, and that's why we feel that Swaploader builds a superior product, because that's cold, hard data. So that's some of the reasons why we went exclusively to Swaploader, and now let's jump into the way that we order our hoist. So every hoist that we order has an adjustable jib height. You know, when we take a truck in on trade-in and it has a fixed hook height, that really drives down the value of that truck. So all of our hoists, no matter what size they are, have adjustable jib height. 90% of our hoists that we order have the universal body locks. We still order a small percentage that have the old style locks just for the guys that want that and won't change. Another really big benefit on the Swaploader is these units are sandblasted and powder coated and baked in an oven before they're shipped. So you have a very superior paint that will last for a long time. Also, so Swaploader runs off a low pressure hydraulic system. So that is a really nice setup for you guys that want to run a clutch pump. Let's say you have a chassis that has a 2500 Allison transmission and you want to run a clutch pump, you can easily do that because clutch pumps will work much better on a low pressure hydraulic system, and almost all the other manufacturers out there run off of high pressure. So that's a real plus, especially on the 20,000 pound hoist and down. All right guys, let's jump into another very important part of your truck build, and that is the tarp system. That is really, really important to have a good tarp system, and we use the US tarp system here, and they are part of Shurco. I don't know if you knew this, but not long ago they did a merger, and they are one company, Shurco and US Tarp. We have had very good success with this tarp system. We have tried other brands. There's a lot of really good tarp systems out there. They are a company that will come out into our shop and work with us and make improvements and changes, and we love to partner with companies that do that. So let's take a look at this tarp system that's on here. It's what we call the Waste Warrior 4-spring automatic spring tarper. So there's a really cool remote to run this tarp system, and right here it is. You can put it in your pocket, clip it on your belt, whatever, take it with you. And that'll run the tarp, it'll run the gantry, and your floodlights. You can also do that right from here. You've got your buttons to run this tarp system, you've got the extendable gantry, and you've got the floodlights. And it seems I often get questions from customers, how do I turn them floodlights on? Right here, black button, right in front of this box. Click it on, and there you go. Beautiful LED floodlights. We have had some guys ask us about this tarp system right here. This is a very, very neat system that they have just changed in the last 2.5 years. And I'm kind of proud to say that they made that change because of us. They were here in our shop, and one of our very own, Bill Snover, came up with this idea and suggestion and presented it to him, and they made this change. So you're running different dumpster lengths on your truck. What do you do to get that tarp to cover your dumpster correctly? You can make this adjustment right here on this slider. 2 bolts you loosen up. Pull this one pin out right here. There's a pin you pull, safety pin, pull that out, and you can slide this forward or backward. And then you can shorten or lengthen your tarp arms right here by these 2 screws here. Very easy. Like if you're consistently running only 12 footers, you can shorten that up. If you're always running 16 footers or even 18 footers on here, because this hoist will carry 18 footers, you can move it back and it'll cover that dumpster. Easy to change, they're not that difficult. Pop it off, put your new ones on. US Tarp, the Waste Warrior 4-spring. That's what we use on this size truck. All right, you hook lift guys out there, you know that one of the #1 problems on these trucks is hydraulic leaks. And I'm telling you, we have had a battle here in our shop routing these hoses correctly and not having hydraulic leaks. Man, we've had to make changes, we've had to make improvements, and every time we think we've got it figured out, we get another call that there's a hydraulic leak. So we have really tried to improve our process of the way we route hoses and where they're put so that we minimize these oil leaks. Because think about it, when you guys are out there at a $500,000 home dropping a dumpster on a blacktop, you cannot have oil leaks. And look at the amount of hydraulic hoses that are needed for this system to operate correctly. So we put a lot of emphasis and energy into routing these hoses correctly so that they're not rubbing against the frame rail, because I tell you what, when they're rubbing, there's vibration and that hose will rub through very quickly and cause you an oil leak. And if you blow a hose, you have oil all over the place. So I'm sure there's guys out there that have our trucks that say, hey, I've had trouble. We've listened to you. We've tried to improve it. That's probably the _1 problem that we see on these trucks. Even up here with these fittings, with this hoist going up and down every day, all day long, Swaploader had another style of fittings, and those hoses over time would work themselves loose and start spraying oil. So we went to Swaploader and said, you're going to have to make a change with these fittings here. And they did. I don't think we've had any issues now since they've changed that. So like I told you, we're always looking for ways to improve this. Another thing that we do is the way we build our trucks. Here is the hydraulic tank and the brains to the Swaploader hoist. We try to keep this stuff move forward, giving you room back here for another toolbox, putting rolly skate bracket there. It gives you options to do something. That's why we try to keep this stuff ahead. Let's move around to the rear bumper. So we build our own bumper. This complete back end here we make here at our shop, and it is extremely heavy duty. We build covers over the airlines. We build a cover over where you plug for your trailer. We build a cover over the camera because, man, you got debris falling over it. We build this cover right here to protect everything back here. Here is something else that we just started doing very recently. See these brackets here on either side? Well, that is for those guys that need to put an extendable bumper on. It's all there. All you need to do is bolt your tubes and put your tube here, and you've got an extendable bumper just like that, because this hoist is designed to carry up to 18-foot containers if your state allows a 4-foot overhang. If it doesn't allow a 4-foot overhang, you can immediately put that extendable bumper in place and you can haul 18-foot containers on this hoist because it is designed to do that. It will carry a container that long. We have the lights here that have the built-in strobe. We feel that's a nice, clean setup, and you don't need another light in here because the strobes are built into this. Mud flaps. Do you see that? We put the mud flaps on the bumper, getting them away from your rear tire. We see a lot of people putting the mud flap right on the fender, and guess what happens? You back into a pile of debris, that mud flap goes underneath your rear tire. If you back up just a little bit more, it rips it off. So with this here, that's totally impossible to rip that mud flap off with your rear tire. Let's talk about fenders. Shiny stainless steel fenders definitely look the nicest. They're more money, they look better, but man, you bump them, you got an ugly looking fender that quick, and you know what? You're gonna bump them sometime. So we have used these black poly fenders. This is a more heavy duty, thicker fender than what you're gonna find out there in the market. There's a lot of companies out there making this. They're huge companies, but they're not very thick. And a lot of them you'll see where they were maybe mounted incorrectly, and they were rubbing the tires. You put a load on it, this goes down, hits the tire, they're rubbed right through. You can see daylight through here. These fenders are made 10 miles from our shop here. It's a local company, and they have definitely built one of the best poly fenders out there, and they have held up very, very well for us, lasting long term. On this side of the truck, again, we leave space here for you to put something else, whether that's another toolbox or anything of your choice. Here is the toolbox that we use. It's the Buyers dual cam lock aluminum toolbox. You know, when we first started out, we used that cheap black toolbox. And you know, we all know that within a year or two, they look very ugly. They rust out. To lock the box, it just had a simple key. You locked it. Well, we know how long those last when you're talking salt, cold weather. This has a nice place to put a padlock if you'd like to lock your boxes. You can flip that up. Just show you how nice it is. They open and close. There's no latch that sticks. They've got a good rubber strip in here. This is definitely a superior toolbox. So in front of the toolbox, we leave space for you to put, you could put a trash can holder, you could put a holder to carry your 5 gallons of floor dry, whatever you wish. There's also plenty of room on this gantry to put your shovel and broom holders. That is something else that we offer. You can put 2 or 3 shovel and broom holders here. All right, guys, so one of the very important things when you're getting your first truck or your second or third truck is you gotta buy the right chassis. Gotta buy a chassis that's spec'd out correctly for you. And we're gonna hit just on a couple main points to help you make your decision. And we think about it every time that we take a trade-in, a truck that's maybe 5, 10, 15 years old, and we look at that and say, man, there's just some really important factors missing on that chassis. So while we're here on the passenger side, grab handle, exterior grab handle. That's really important for getting in and out of the truck. Now I know you might not carry a passenger often, but get them on both sides. This little side mirror up here, super important for the blind spot right here. You gotta have that little mirror up there. And while we're talking about mirrors, I'm gonna share one of my pet peeves about truck manufacturers. So one of the reasons that I really like Peterbilt and Kenworth and some of those major manufacturers is because of the way they mount their mirrors. I'm really big on where mirrors are mounted. And this is just one little side note. Some truck manufacturers mount their mirrors on the door. I always think that that mirror shakes so much more when you're going down the road because it's mounted to something not as stable. And also when you open your door to look out, the mirror goes with the door if you have a truck that has the mirror mounted on the door. So just a little side note. All right, front end of the truck here, I would say almost all of our trucks have the sun visor, overhead lights. They got the tow hooks in the front. Remember, we order all these trucks to our specs. A lot of these trucks have been ordered a year in advance. And so we are very specific about some of these things because they're important to you. When you first look at a truck, you might not think about those things, but when you're using it, suddenly you think like, where's my tow hooks? Because you're gonna get stuck. We order them with a basic chrome package, grill, bumper, wheels, tanks. We don't go all out, but we get the basic chrome package with these trucks. Let's jump over here to the driver's side. Whenever we can, and not all truck manufacturers let us do this, but we like to order it with the DEF tank tucked up underneath the cab in front of the fuel tank. You know, if it's back here, people stand on it, debris falls on it, and you don't want that happening as there's some electronics and there's some hoses and stuff on top of that tank that should not be getting damaged. So this size truck, we almost always order them with the 50-gallon fuel tank. And our reasoning behind that was these trucks get 7, 8 miles to the gallon. You got a 50-gallon tank, you should be able to go 300 to 350 miles before fuel up. That's a long day if you're putting that many miles on, but I will tell you, we've had some guys ask about the 75-gallon tank or even a 100-gallon tank on this size truck. And I'm gonna throw it out there. What would you guys like to see? Do you like the bigger fuel tanks so that you can go maybe 2 days before fueling up? Here's one of the reasons that we have not ordered trucks with longer fuel tanks. Immediately they get longer. And now you're coming back into frame rail that's very valuable. If it comes back to here, it's a real pain to mount your tarp system. So that's why we went 50-gallon tank, but tell us, what do you guys like? Again, grab handle on the exterior. Yes, you've got grab handles in here, but I just think that's a good added feature. All of these trucks in this size have air ride cab and air ride seat. Now you get down into the 22,000 GVW truck, you don't have those options. Take a look at this air ride seat. Just a simple button. You guys all know that. Up and down. You can put that exactly where you want and ride in comfort all day long. While we're in here, guys, take a look at this. Our backup camera. We have tried multiple brands and have had a lot of trouble with backup cameras until we started using this one from Buyers. Easy installation and long lasting. We have had very good success with this camera system. Highly recommend it. All right guys, follow me to the back of the truck. I want to talk just briefly rear tires. We try to order these trucks with the correct rear tires. Fairly aggressive tread and open shoulder is important for you in the landfills and getting around, because we know the environment that you guys work in every day, and that makes a big difference in how well you can get in and out of where you're going. All right, we just covered the wheels. Let's jump into some of the specs on these trucks and the way we order them. First thing, while we're back here, let's talk about locking differential. I think that's very key to getting a truck with a locking differential, because you will need that. You can't get these trucks factory 4x4, but you can get them with locking differential. Exhaust brake. Very important. Using that will save your brakes. Get your truck with exhaust brake. Engine horsepower. You know, we get trucks in here, sometimes they're 250 horse, and I'm telling you, that's on the small side for hauling dumpsters like this. We order this size with 300 horse minimum. And then we also have started ordering trucks with the 325 to 350 horse in this size. Big trucks, 500 horse. A few come through at 450. Almost all of them are at 500 horse. You need the horsepower. Transmission, everything out here, almost everything has Allison automatics. Get the right Allison transmission, the 3000 series or the 3500 with the PTO gear, giving you live PTO so you can operate that hoist while you're driving around the yard. The 2500 Allison transmission will work, but that's a lighter built transmission and it will not give you live PTO. So that's an important part of your truck is the transmission. All right, guys, do you want to look like this when you show up at your customer's yard to pick up that overloaded dumpster? No, exactly right. I didn't think so. Here is the harsh truth of why not all trucks are built correctly. Let's talk about the rear axle, the cab to axle measurement. How do these guys get the front end of the air 5 feet up in there? It's because the rear axle is too far forward. If that axle is at the back, your chances of doing that are much, much lower. So that's why it's important to have the right cab to axle measurement. This axle is at the very back here. You cannot pop a wheelie with this truck like you could if the axle was moved up 1 or 2 feet. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. And remember, if you give us a call at Quality Trucking Equipment, you are going to get our undivided attention because this is the only thing we do. So we stay very laser focused on this, and our guys know this product, and we would be glad to answer any questions that you have. So give us a call today, 989-802-0907. Thank you so much.